Sir, as I said, Kashmir is supposed to be heaven on earth, but of late, especially I think if the last 30 years, it is in the news for other things. So can you please start us explaining what is the genesis of this Kashmir issue?
You see, it all started with the Jinnah's Muslim League for creation of Pakistan. When Mr. Jinnah raised the demand for pious place for Muslims, Pakistan, he excluded princely states from it. That means Muslim majority areas which are directly ruled by British Crown, those areas he wanted to carve out a place for Muslims. His philosophy was that Hindu infidels cannot rule over Muslims. And one of the reasons was that Muslims had ruled Hindus for nearly 1000 years. And the religious touch was that believers, as Muslims, cannot be ruled by infidels and non-believers. So that was his basic demand, based on which Pakistan was created. If you look at the map of Pakistan and if you remove Balochistan from it, which Pakistan occupied after having come into existence, you will see West Pakistan, what we can say, is only a strip. It's like a strip. So when Mr. Jinnah realized that it's a moth-eaten kind of a thing he has got, he started indulging in poking his nose into princely states. And one of them was Jammu and Kashmir. So he started speaking on behalf of Kashmiri Muslims and propaganding that how Pakistan was the safest place for Kashmiri Muslims to live and Muslims of J&K to live. It started from there. That time the ruler was Maharaja Hari Singh and J&K was a princely state. Now under Government of India Act 1935, the princely states had an option. One option was they could opt for India, Dominion. Other was they can opt for Pakistan. Third was they could be independent. So this choice was given to princely states. Now Maharaja Hari Singh signed a standstill agreement with Pakistan, and Pakistan agreed to sign it. India did not agree. India did not sign. The idea of Maharaja Hari Singh was that he should be given enough time to decide where he would go, whether Pakistan, India, or be an independent, and there should be no intervention. Now this was violated by Pakistan by tribal raid of 1947. They call it tribal raid, but it was very well supported by Pakistani army, and Pakistani army was directly involved in it. So when they invaded J&K princely state, Maharaja Hari Singh found that his armed forces didn't have the capability to match them. And more than that, the Muslims in his army ditched him, betrayed him. So then he sought intervention of India. Then the Indian government and the political leadership that time told him that since J&K was not in India, was not a part of India, India could not intervene. If he wanted India to intervene, then he must accede to India. So then what happened was he signed an instrument of accession with India, which was as per Government of India Act 1935. That means the procedure for accession was also written by British paramountcy. They were written by British. India followed that, some form was to be filled, and it granted a level of autonomy to this princely state, which had acceded to India through instrument of accession. So once that happened, India intervened. It landed its forces in Srinagar airport, and the pushback of these raiders started. Now Nehruji was not quite happy about the way this was going on. So he wanted a full-fledged attack, full-fledged assault on this army, Pakistani army, and to throw them out. There, Mr. Louis Mountbatten, he got a bit worried. Apprehending that Nehruji may order even attack on Pakistan. So he consulted him and persuaded him to go to UN, telling him that it is the most very strong case India has, and certainly UN will give whatever decision in his favor. And then another advantage would be that it will not explode into a full-fledged war between two new India and Pakistan, which would not be good for any one of the two countries. So it appealed to Nehruji, because the instrument of accession was a legal document. So there was legally it was valid that J&K princely state had acceded to India. There was nothing illegal about it. So he took the case to United Nations. And India went to United Nations with the consent of Pakistan. That is very important. Mr. Louis Mountbatten went to Pakistan and showed them a draft letter from India suggesting that let us go to UN. Because Mr. Jinnah didn't agree to any other way of plebiscite this thing. Issue was taken to United Nations. The United Kingdom, the UK and USA opposed India and even questioned the instrument of accession. That was the backstabbing. So then what happened was that, so India fought that out in the UN about the debates and all that. So when the issue was taken to UN ultimately, what is known as UN resolution. That is the beginning of the Kashmir problem. It was created. It was created by whom? Pakistan. Who violated the agreement, standstill agreement? It was Pakistan. Okay. So basically, if you ask me genesis of Kashmir problem, Pakistan is wholly and solely responsible for Kashmir problem. Based on what? Based on the philosophy that a nation is defined by its religion. Culture is defined by its religion. Politics is defined by its religion, and any other thing that you may have is defined by its religion. Civilization is defined by its religion. That was the thesis of Jinnah. So extending that thesis to Kashmir being a Muslim majority state, he said this should be a part of Pakistan. So he reneged on his promise that, as per Lahore Declaration, that his interest was not in princely states. That's the number one thing one has to keep in mind. So Pakistan and its leadership, Jinnah, is solely responsible for creating a problem which should have been non-existent had Jinnah not reneged on his words. So once it went to UN brought out a resolution, what is called UN Security Council resolution. For what? For holding a plebiscite in J&K state. Congress had no opposition to plebiscite. International Congress always, by their resolution of 1938, Nehruji was the president of International Congress, they had passed out a resolution that princely states would accede to India only if the people of that princely state want to accede, not the ruler. Yes. This is very important. It was not for the Raja or Maharaja to decide whether that particular princely state should accede or not. It is the people of that state who have to decide.
All princely states?
People have to decide. So that means what? How could that be decided? By plebiscite, by holding a referendum.
Yes.
So International Congress was always for holding a plebiscite. So when people criticize Nehruji, why did he declare that it will be a plebiscite? It was not Nehruji. It was a resolution of International Congress, who had led the Indian freedom struggle from the front. Right? So when UN resolution was brought out, the first step was that status quo ante to be restored in what was known as Pakistan occupied Kashmir, including Baltistan. That means what? The demographic change to the last single person who was not an original resident of POK or GB had to be vacated from there. And once Pakistan says yes, it has accomplished that task, there will be a supervision to find out whether demography has been restored or not. That means what? As it existed pre-14th August 1947. Let us say that. Status quo ante. Having accomplished that, if Pakistan had accomplished that, then India, second step was that India had to reduce its strength of its armed forces in J&K to a bare minimum where it could, which would be sufficient for defending its frontiers. And then a plebiscite would be held under the supervision of United Nations to seek the opinion of people, which country they would like to join or be independent. Pakistan never fulfilled the first step. So Pakistan defaulted on UN resolution. Having created the problem, having sought a solution through UN, they defaulted on UN resolution. So that is the issue. Kashmir problem is whole and soul child of Pakistan. And thereafter also, Pakistan has been consistently raising the issue at UN. And consistently its leadership has been getting a reply that you please talk to India. They cannot tell Pakistan leadership that they are defaulted. So that is the basic.
But why is there a wrong notion that Mahatma Gandhi was the reason for partition of India into Pakistan and India, so that he can make Nehru as Prime Minister here and Jinnah as Prime Minister there?
You know one thing, you must read the letters of Mahatma Gandhi. I had, but I have misplaced them. In that, he shows his respect and his admiration for Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose more than Pandit Nehru. Got it? They had their own differences.
Yeah.
But they never defaced or belittled the other person because they respected their particular stand. Everybody was fighting for independence of the country from British rule. So it is very wrong to say that Gandhiji wanted to install Nehruji as a Prime Minister. It is too mean a thing to say.
Correct.
It is on record that Gandhiji failed to impress upon both Jinnah, Nehruji and Patel Sahab that why they should come to a understanding with each other and avoid partition of India. Nobody listened to him. Nobody listened to him. In fact, when he gave a call for Quit India movement, 1942, one of the ladies, I wouldn't like to name her, a very big name, a very big leader, in the Congress Working Committee, she abused Gandhiji. And Gandhiji says that in his address to the people outside. See, the treachery has been done to Gandhiji by these Congress people only. After they realize that this man, old man, has now given a final call for Quit India movement, now he is not required. You can never blame Gandhiji for partition. He failed. Yes, he could not succeed in making Nehruji and Jinnah Sahab to come to some kind of understanding which could avoid partition. Jinnah wouldn't agree because Jinnah was driven by Islam. See, this is fun, people have to understand that. When Jinnah says that Momeens can't be ruled by infidels, how can there be an agreement? That's the worldview of Jinnah. And what is Indian National Congress worldview? A secular democratic nation where multiple cultures, multiple religions, diversity will prosper.
Yes.
With all its limitations, that is fine. How could there be a pact? So Jinnah insisted. So partition was there. Then these people said, let there be a complete partition. That means Lala Lajpat Rai is on record and saying, and many others, great people, that each and every Muslim should be asked to vacate India.
Okay, total.
You have asked for Pakistan, you go. But because Indian National Congress did not have that kind of a worldview to have a homogeneous society, it believed in heterogeneous society, it believed in diversity of culture, of religion, so they didn't enforce that. They said leave it there. So now, Nehruji, how did he become Prime Minister? That who will decide?
Congress.
There is a dynamics that time. It is very difficult for me, not being a part of that dynamics, not having lived there, not having participated in that. It is very unreasonable on my part or anybody who passes a judgment. The fact is, Nehruji became Prime Minister and Jinnah became Prime Minister of
Pakistan.
But people say, had they agreed with Gandhiji, since Jinnah was suffering from terminal disease and he would die within few months, then naturally, in fact, Gandhiji had suggested to them, you make Mr. Jinnah as the first Prime Minister. It is on record. Both Patel Sahab and Nehruji opposed. Now, can you criticize it? I will not. I will not, because I don't measure up to dust of their feet. The kind of people they were, the kind of struggle they launched.
Yes.
I mean, that is on record. So they disagreed. Now then the people say, had they agreed, it's a wish, then there would not have any party. But who knew Jinnah has a terminal disease? His doctor never disclosed that. That is the integrity of his doctor. So partition happened. Nehruji became Prime Minister. Patel Sahab became Home Minister. And Mr. Patel Sahab was Patel. I mean, he was not any other Home Minister of India.
Yes.
He had his own standing. He was known as Iron Man of India. So